Hey, what up, y'all? Mr. Cruz here, the hardest worker in the room, back with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how you can set up a template in FL Studio so that you can cut back on how long it takes you to create content. All right, so this is kind of my template, the way that I have mine set up. Let me open up these other things here. This is my channel rack. Let me close that down. I usually start with the mixer. So I'm kind of going to give you the rundown on how I set up my template, and then I'm going to show you guys pretty much you can kind of follow along and do however you want to set yours up, but I'm pretty much going to show you where to save your templates, how to save your templates, so that they open up every single time that you crack open FL Studio. But it better not be a cracked version. Come on, man, y'all are better than that. All right. So I pretty much usually start out with my mixer. Now the reason is I came from the DAW Reason Studios, and Reason Studios is very colorful. FL is super bland, and so I like to color code all of my instruments and all of my sounds, because that helps me to be able to visualize, especially when I'm looking for a certain sound. And during the mixing phase. Let me move my mic a little bit here. All right, so I start out with 808. So all of the orange stuff right here is pretty much, these are all of my drum sounds. And all of my drum sounds get routed out to a drum bus. So these are all channel racks, pretty much sample racks. Now you'll notice that I have a ton of 808s here, and these are all being routed out to channel 1. Now the reason for that is, can I detach this? Yeah. Let me make this a little bit smaller. The reason for that is because the way that I make my beats, especially with my 808s, I like to just pretty much stick to the 808 that I usually use every single time when I'm laying down the pattern. And then depending on how the beat sounds, I'm gonna pick one of these like 10 or 9 808s. Like, these are my go-tos. These always do the job every single time. So this kind of makes it easy. So like, let's say if I lay down a pattern, and this is the 808 that I laid the pattern down, now I can just kind of cut, paste in order to see, like, well, how does that pattern sound with the, the OG 808? How does it sound with the Bullet 808? So on and so forth. So that really makes it a lot easier for me to be able to switch between different 808s to find out which one works the best. And then of course I've got like the sampler rack pretty much in here for all of my percussion sound, for my kick, my snare, my clap, and all this other stuff. Now the hi-hats. Now here is my thing with hi-hats, because to me, hi-hats is usually the one sample or the one element of my beat that I need to find the right one. Otherwise my beat's gonna fall apart. What I do is I pretty much lay down the pattern first. Like, all of these have sounds that are already, defaulted to it. Kick, snare, clap. Those are all sounds that I like, and I can start building a beat out to it. And then after the fact is when I'll open up the browser and start looking through loops and not loops, but like samples, and see like, all right, well, I like this kick right here. So like, now I can just kind of drag that sample in and not really worry about the sound or the pattern so much, right? Because the whole point is, especially the way that I work, this is kind of my philosophy: lay down the pattern, the melody, and all that stuff as quick as possible. Afterwards, start tweaking the sound. So afterwards is when you swap the sample in order to see, like, well, I don't like that kick, but let's see if a different kick would work. That's when you do that. Most of the times though, I end up not swapping anything out because I like the sounds that I've already got in my template. But this allows me to be able to create quicker and then spend less time trying to find the sample before I make the pattern or make the melody, because by then I probably already forgot what the melody was going to be. So a little tidbit there. So all of these things, and then perks. So perks is the really interesting one. I have another video on my channel about this, where I have an FPC set up, and each FPC pad is routed out to a different output. Actually, no, it's not routed out to a different output, but they all have different sounds here, right? Now the beauty is that I can route them out to different channels, or different mixer channels. So let's say if I wanted to use this one and I also wanted to use this one, well, they're all right there in one channel rack, and then I can just route it out to whatever mixer I need to, right? So this kind of, I rarely ever change anything that's already in here, right? These are all pretty good percussion sounds that I will use on a regular basis. Next up, I have Arcade. I mainly use it whenever I get stuck on something I'm having trouble kind of creating, or if I need, when I throw Hooked on there. Everybody throws Hooked on it, so like it's a gem. Then I've got keys. So this is expand. So I pretty much just have like a piano sound here. Let me see. And a bells thing. This is I believe it's Omnisphere. It's gonna take a while to load up because Omnisphere is a hog. And then some pads also from Omnisphere, and then a Moog bass, just because I've been a friend of mine is my boy Bam Bam. He is freaking dope, and he throws Moog basses on almost everything, and so like I'm trying to copy his style. Right, that stuff dope. And then lastly, I have Scalar. So Scalar to me, coming from Reason, I used to have access to the Reason players, which would allow you to play chords by just hitting single notes, and you can kind of like mess around. It's really, really dope. So there's nothing like that in FL, so I ended up buying Scalar. Little did I know I could use the players from Reason inside of FL, but anyways, I already spent the $50. But this is just to kind of help me lay down a chord progression whenever I've got like a certain style that I'm going for. Most of the times, if I'm stuck and I'm trying to make a beat and I got beat block, what I'll do is I'll jump on Spotify, maybe go to Rap Caviar, and I'll like listen to like, all right, man, I really like this style, or I really like this song and this beat, so like let me make something that's similar to that, and then I'll try to find out like what the BPM and the key is, and then that's where I'll start. So I'll start with the scale that song is in, and then try to come up with something that has a similar vibe, not a similar, you know, melody or anything, but just like a similar vibe. So if it's like a sad, you know, trap soul kind of beat, then I want to make something that's along those lines. And then down here are all like the risers that I have, and again, all this stuff gets routed out individually, but I have my risers kind of go into one single channel rack. So what that looks like in here is like this. So each one of these are different elements of different risers that I would use. This one over here is my favorite though. Right, so all a bunch of whole different ones. So I used to always struggle with coming up with like those transition sounds, and now I just kind of threw them all in here, and I use some I use like 3 or 4 of them in every single beat of mine. And the same thing with crashes, because I used to always struggle trying to find this crash, right, that big hard like trap one. So I have those there as well that I use, and then of course I have my tag down here.
Hey yo, Mr. Cruz.
And then that has its own effect that I have put on there with like reverb and delay. All right, so there you go. So like, let's say you did all that stuff, not even to mention like, you know, I've got EQ on every single element, every single channel. I've got like the stuff, you know, soft clipper, everything's color coded. And then I've got a whole bunch of send effects that I rarely ever use and whatnot. So once you have all of that stuff set up, you've got your template and your session set up the way that you want to. Now you've got to save it. So what you're gonna do, let's say, I think I have to change something in here as a matter of fact. So let me, yeah, I needed to change this. All right, so now I've done that. Let me go over here and I'm gonna go to save as. Let's go ahead and save it as my desktop. I'm gonna call it template. I think it's version 2 is what I'm on now. So template version 2, save. All right, so now I'm gonna go off screen here for a little bit. I'm gonna go to my Explore window, and I am going to go to Documents. And if you're on Windows, this is definitely going to be the same thing on a Windows. It might be similar on a Mac. Go to Image Line, go to FL Studio, go to Projects, go to Templates, and then in here is where you're going to save it. So hey, template version 2. All right, so let me pull up another one and then drag my, oh shoot, and then drag my template version 2 in here. All right, and I'm gonna replace it, yes. So all this other stuff, so like, obviously, like I said, I have my percussion sounds, right? You'll hear them here. All right, so all of my percussion sounds, in order to save all of those into here as well, you're gonna have to save the project data files. So you're gonna go back to File, Export, and then Project Data Files, and then we're gonna find that same folder. So Documents, Image Line, FL Studio, Projects, and then templates, and then you will save all of those sounds in that folder. I'm not going to do it because it already has the sounds that I need. But the reason I do this is because I work on both a laptop and on a desktop. And then sometimes when I'm sending files from my laptop to my desktop, I get that error that says like, hey, you got missing samples. And so that alleviates the need to be able to like go searching for the missing samples if it does end up saying like, hey, your samples are missing. But 9 times out of 10, that error won't even pop up because it's looking in the same folder. Anyways, that's what I got. Sorry this video is so much longer, but there you go. Again, template will save you a whole lot of time. I went from taking like several days to make a beat to like, you know, I could cook up a beat in 2 hours on, you know, that's an hour or two, and that's about average. If I'm really feeling it, I could get it done in like 30 minutes. And you want to save time because time is the only thing in this world that you cannot get back. That's what I got for you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you have a template or if you have set a template up similar to mine in FL Studio or whatever other DAW that you're using. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy, Mr. Cruz, out.